Plans revealed for the former Thunder Bay generating station property. Good evening and thank you for joining us. Officials with Frontier Lithium have announced their intention to purchase the former OPG lands on Mission Island for $3.3 million.
The Sudbury-based mining company is trying to become Ontario's first lithium producer and processor. The property sale is expected to be finalized on Friday. The power plant closed in 2018 and the property was sold to Budget Demolition. That company then spent several years demolishing the giant smokestack and other buildings and clearing the site for future uses. Frontier has held an option to purchase the 183-acre property since June of 2023. The company has a major lithium mine planned north of Red Lake. The PAC project would have 2 open pits for mining lithium ore. Last year, Frontier CEO Trevor Walker said they were planning to start mining by 2027 and have a lithium refinery set up somewhere on the Great Lakes by 2030. No one from Frontier is available for an interview until after the sale is completed.
A Pikangikum First Nation man has been charged with manslaughter in connection to the death of a 24-year-old woman in that community last April. Ontario Provincial Police have now charged 37-year-old Adam Peters with her death and administering a noxious substance. He appeared in court today and remains in custody. Anyone with information about the case is asked to call OPP or Crime Stoppers.
Voters in Thunder Bay and across the province will head to the polls tomorrow. Premier Doug Ford called the snap election in January, just 2.5 years after his majority government was elected in 2022. This will be the first Ontario election held during the winter months since 1981. Local campaign teams have been using snowbanks to prop up election signs in people's front yards. Fortunately for voters, the temperatures have gotten warmer for Election Day, but the recent snow melt has caused some of those campaign signs to tip over. Ford has said he needs the election to provide him with a 4-year mandate to fight tariffs from U.S. President Donald Trump. We spoke to the main party candidates in Thunder Bay Superior North about whether this is the right time to have voters cast their ballots.
This is pure opportunism. We know that Doug Ford isn't even talking about the issues that affect Ontarians. He's playing Captain Canada and really talking about tariffs over which he has very little power, a little bit, but we should be doing this as a country. We shouldn't be in the middle of an election. It's going to be distorted. Having it at this time in the winter is voter suppression.
Premier Ford did the right thing. You know, he looked at it and he said it very clear to the people. Listen, we have somebody next door that wakes up in the middle of the morning at 3 in the morning and writes a thing on X and says, I'm going to do this, and then wakes up and tells his team he's going to put an executive order. We don't know what that looks like. As we know, there was a promise made about the tariffs, and then he woke up the next day and said, I'm going to change it, and I'm going to put the 25% tariff on metal and aluminum. That impacts Canada and impacts Ontario hugely. The reality is the election was called to make sure, as you heard clearly from the Premier, I need a mandate from the people of Ontario to make sure we move forward with a solid 4 years to fight the administration south of us.
Well, honestly, given what's happening south of the border, I think this is probably the most inopportune time. This is nothing short of a distraction from what we need to be doing. And what we need to be doing is really working together. An election by design, by nature, is ultimately a very divisive thing. It actually pushes people apart. And that's exactly the wrong thing that we really need right now.
The leaders of the 4 major parties are looking to shore up support ahead of tomorrow's vote.
Close to 11 million people are eligible to vote in this election. CTV's Siobhan Morris has more.
Hey, what's up, guys?
In the final hours on the campaign trail, party leaders' buses racked up a lot of kilometers, trying to pick up new seats and hang on to ones they held before the legislature was dissolved. Doug Ford renewing a call for a stronger mandate that will outlast the current U.S. administration. How strong? He wouldn't get specific.
Well, I just want to win. I don't look at the numbers. I just want to win. I want to win a majority, a large majority, until we send a message. We send a message down to Donald Trump that we're a force to be reckoned with.
A third progressive conservative majority is in sight for Ford. No plans to step away from provincial politics.
Man, I want to be premier forever.
How's everybody? It's a job Bonnie Crombie would like to take from Ford. In her final pitch to voters, reminding them of his list of unfulfilled promises.
He said he'd end hallway health care. He didn't get it done. He said he'd cut your taxes. He didn't get that done. He said he'd build 1.5 million homes, and he didn't get that done either.
Let's get out there and knock on some more doors.
NDP leader Marit Stiles tried to strike a hopeful tone
We have the power of our vote to make real change.
while campaigning to maintain seats in Toronto, Hamilton, and Niagara.
Your vote has the power to strengthen our public health care system and hire more doctors and nurses. Your vote has the power to ensure that we address and fight the rising cost of everything.
The Green campaign focused on returning the party's deputy leader to Queen's Park.
Give people a doctor, start cramming kids into overcrowded classrooms, and protect the farmland and the places we love. Ashland Clancy's our choice!
After a month of shaking hands, hugs, and pitching to Ontarians,
One more day.
voters have their say on Thursday.
That was CTV's Siobhan Morris reporting. Work continues to drain a flooded section of Carrick Street in Thunder Bay's intercity area. City Roads Division Manager Ian Spaljerich says crews are trying their best, but there's nowhere for the water to go.
So there is a floodway in the area that leads to the McIntyre River. That's all frozen, and the culverts in that floodway are frozen as well. So we've been working to clear those blockages.
Carrick Street remains closed to all traffic from 11th Avenue to Hewitson Street. The city has also closed Hewitson between Carrick and Russell Streets. Local sewer and water crews were first alerted to the flooding early Tuesday morning. The street was closed soon after as crews began working on a solution. Spaljerich says the flooding has a lot to do with the unusually warm weather this week.
Usually we see this a little later in the spring, end of February is a bit earlier. But with the warmer temperatures the last few days, we're seeing a lot of melt, and we still have a lot of ice and snowbanks kind of covering these catch basins. So we got to go out and clear those so that the water can get to where it needs to go, which has been a challenge the last few days. But the crews are up for it, and they've been working hard to clear those blockages.
City officials hope to have Carrick Street reopened in the next day or two. Meanwhile, repair crews continue to search for the source of a water main break along Fort William Road. Several holes have been dug in the past few days, and the crews are still trying to locate and repair the leak. The Roots Community Food Center is one of the polling stations for tomorrow's election, but due to the repair work, voters will only be able to access Roots from the southbound lane.
Thunder Bay will soon have its own plasma center again, starting in early April. Renovations have been underway for the past few months, and area residents can start booking appointments now. The center's return comes more than 12 years after Canadian Blood Services closed the old facility on Barton Street in 2012. The new center is in the Thunder Center between Dollarama and Easy Home. The facility will be the 10th plasma center in the country. Appointments can be booked over the phone for April 1st onwards. Canadian Blood Services Director Judy Jones notes the need for plasma in the country continues to grow, and they're ready to welcome back area donors.
We know that Thunder Bay really wants to give back and really support. Just look recently with the Scotties, we had so many people participating. The audience was really busy. Can you imagine that for an actual donation with plasma? So the community really wants to get involved, and we've seen some great response already. And so we're really just looking forward to, engaging with the community organizations to come on board and support us.
Billboards and radio advertisements have already been seen and heard in the city. More information about plasma donation can be found on the Canadian Blood Services website.
Well, speaking of the Scotties, as curling fans nationwide watched the Tournament of Hearts on TSN, they also saw an ad campaign promoting Thunder Bay. Local CEDC officials say the whole event provided significant exposure for the city. CEO Jamie Taylor estimates millions of people saw the city's commercial. She told that to City Council on Monday night during a presentation about their 2024 promotion efforts. Councillor Michael Zassino asked whether the CEDC was going to capitalize with more high-profile events that would gain just as much attention as the Scotties. Taylor says while they won't be able to replicate the Scotties every year, they are in talks with various groups.
There are a number of ways that we can promote the city for different events. And the great thing is that we do have the Tourism Development Fund that can provide financial incentive to bring more events here. So that really is the catalyst to us being able to attract those events. The tourism team works tirelessly at attending different conferences where people are looking to identify locations. So whether or not that's convention or sport, there's different avenues where you can go and have those discussions and pitch your community. We are doing that.
Thunder Bay history buffs are in for a treat tomorrow night. A group of documentary filmmakers is presenting 2 episodes of The View from Up Here. It's a quirky new local history project being presented as part of Lakehead University's Research and Innovation Week.
Don't touch that dial and we'll explain on The View from Up Here.
The series provides a satirical glimpse into the past of Thunder Bay. The series and the free public viewing event are both hosted by Tom Piotto. One of the episodes being shown is a look back at the rich history of filmmaking in the city starting over a century ago. Director Ron Harpel has more on this entertaining look back.
One of them that I'll tell you about, but the other one will remain a surprise, is a look at Hollywood dreams as they played out at the Lakehead in the early 20th century. I'm sure very few people know about our Hollywood connections in the 1920s, but we've uncovered them, and that's what we're going to essentially be presenting, that and other things related to film production at the Lakehead in the first part of the 20th century.
Admission is free for tomorrow night's sneak preview. Anyone interested can attend the viewing at the PACI building starting at 7 p.m.
Oh, that looks like a lot of fun and really enjoyable. All right, let's turn our attention to the weather now. Fiona, we heard what this kind of rapid thaw has meant to the city. We have flooding in some of the areas. What do we have in store over the next few days?
Well, it doesn't look like it's going to get particularly cold anytime soon. I've had a lot of people tell me how much they have been enjoying the milder temperatures. I feel like a Debbie Downer because I keep saying, yes, but it's not necessarily a good thing. The flooding, the morning ice and slick walkways and roadways. So this is a bit of an issue for Thunder Bay, and having lived through the worst flood in Thunder Bay's history many years back, we don't want that again. But with overnight lows of -5, wind chills of -7, and then warming up to 6 Celsius, that's almost 10 degrees above normal for this time of year. We had today variable cloud. Sometimes it was bright and sunny, almost completely sunny, and at times mostly cloudy. Winds were very difficult to measure properly because they were so light. It was hard to tell which direction they were coming from, so they were variable throughout the day, for the most part ranging from the southwest to the northwest, but between 4 and 7 kilometers per hour. Now, at this time of the day, temperatures are hovering just around, for the most part, slightly above the freezing mark. Now, Red Lake has been seeing temperatures drop over the last few hours. They're currently at -1, and they've stayed below freezing for most of the day, but not much of a wind chill to speak of. Fort Frances has been hovering either just above or just slightly below the freezing mark. At this hour, they're sitting on the plus side at 1, as is Kenora. We've got Upsala at 3, Armstrong and Greenstone and Sioux Lookout all in the freezing mark under cloudy skies. They did have some light snow earlier today, but all this afternoon it's been pretty gray. Along the North Shore, we range from 3 in Nipigon to 0 in Marathon, and then we head back up as you head down to the south in Sault Ste. Marie. They're sitting at 5. Almost their high for the day under mostly cloudy skies. They actually topped out at 6 a couple of hours ago. Here in the city of Thunder Bay tonight, we will slip below the freezing mark, but only just slightly. -2 and wind chills around -6. And because they're starting out so well above the freezing mark, tonight, if we do see any precipitation, because it is a 40% chance, it could be rain, it could be snow. Now, as the temperature does drop below the freezing mark, we are expecting some periods of snow to move in by the early morning hours. We're looking at maybe 5 a.m. But unfortunately, it's just enough to cover up any ice, kind of obscure our view of the dangerous spots. And I have to just really emphasize for anybody heading out in the morning to please be careful where you walk, because with a little bit of snow, you're not going to know if you're hitting ground or slick ice beneath.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. I'm always so conflicted at times like this in the year because, as you know, I would be one of those people telling you how much I love the temperatures, but I always have to remind myself, yes, there's a natural order of things, and it's supposed to be a slow and steady increase in the temperature. And
So
we run into
let's
problems.
hope for that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, after the break, we know very well about the provincial election tomorrow, but another race that's perhaps gone a little bit under the radar, believe it or not, given all of the tariff talk from from south of the border because of Donald Trump, is the Liberal leadership race, and voting is now open for that for members of the federal Liberal Party. We'll have all those details after the break.
Who's the worst person to stand up to Donald Trump? Pierre Poilievre. He worships the man.